Welcome to the Yarn. This time we have Scott Maggs of Skin Check Champions. Good to see you, Scott.
G'day, Senator Bragg. Thank you. Good to be here.
Now, how did you get to a position where you were running a full-time charity focused on getting people to get their skin checked?
Yeah, well, I didn't intend for this career path, but as many of you may know, one of our mutual friends was killed by skin cancer when he was 26 years old. And I suppose at the time, he himself didn't want his death to be in vain. And basically, we wanted to do something that wasn't being done as well as it could have. And since he passed away, I've kind of been on this mission to improve early detection of skin cancer around Australia.
And so, what do you think has been the biggest change since you've been doing the skin check thing as a full-time gig, basically?
Well, it's funny you ask that because it has changed a lot in the last decade or so since we've been working, and to the point now where we're actually planning to roll out a targeted national skin check program. So there's been a big change in appetite over the last 10 years with the health. The health department and a lot of the other people in charge of making that decision. And it's just been a relentless kind of lobbying journey and very interesting, but hopefully we're heading in the right direction.
So let's go back to how this all started. Unfortunately, Wes died, and then there was a bit of a wake, a bit of a discussion about what to do next, wasn't there?
Yeah, so basically, I come from an advertising background, and I very much saw this as a brief in terms of who's our target audience, what is the problem we're trying to solve, or what's the product we're trying to sell, and what's the best, most efficient, and effective and interesting way to do that. And as you probably all have grown up with slip, slop, slap, seek, slide now, and Australia leads the world in prevention campaigns, and we always have for a long time. So that side of things was being taken care of really well. And then in terms of treatment and research, Australia also leads the world in treatment. And now having a melanoma is not a death sentence. There's been phenomenal advances in treatment and immunotherapies, and the path once you're diagnosed is very very positive now. But for us, there was this big gap in early detection, and no one was out there really encouraging people to get checked and helping people, access the services they need to, or provide the services for people who don't have them. And so I suppose we basically zeroed in on that as our main focus. And then the interesting way that we tried to solve that started off very harebrained, literally. And we decided to focus on blokes like Wes. And Wes was 26, brought up in the country in Ardlethan in central New South Wales, went to university in Canberra with us, and very much was on a big trajectory, for a big career in Sydney in IT, and was just very much living the dream. And he was struck down in his prime, and basically this happens to so many people, particularly blokes. Blokes are twice as likely to do battle with skin cancer, and so, but almost impossible to go to and see the doctor for anything, let alone a sus looking spot. So initially we decided to focus on blokes like Wes, and the way that we did it was initially called Beard Season, where we literally put a billboard on our faces, and every winter we grew our beards and used them as a conversation starter to encourage people to get checked.
And this was the idea that you started at the Ardlethan Hotel, right?
Yeah, so at his wake, after a few schooners, admittedly, we
Yeah.
we kind of realized that this early detection was the issue, and this is the people we needed to talk to. And there was literally a farmer in the corner of the bar with a majestic, big wizard beard, and we we joked that maybe, why don't blokes our age do that? And we can. It's in our genes. And back then, no one our age had beards, and we knew that'd cause a bit of a conversation starter when we got back to the office. And so that winter, we started growing beards, and literally just a handful of mates. And that winter, I had about half a dozen people tell me that because of my beard, they found a skin cancer which could have killed them.
Yeah, so it's quite remarkable, isn't it, that I mean, I remember being in Adelaide for that funeral. It was absolutely horrendous occasion. But out of that, you have a couple of beers in the pub and you come up with this concept of growing a beard, right? That's the idea, and then that becomes the conversation starter. So then what happens to beard season? Where does that kind of end, and then the next thing start?
Yeah, well, I suppose because we never really set out to start a charity, we just wanted to do something and be able to measure it.
Yeah.
And so the beard thing kind of grew very organically. And after that first winter, I decided to keep growing as a reminder to keep the idea alive.
Yeah.
And the challenge I set to myself was every day I want to meet someone new that I've never met before, tell them about Wes, and encourage them to get checked. And that challenge in itself was an interesting one because it forced me out of my comfort zone and encouraged me to have conversations like you probably do every single day with people that give you new insight and new perspective, and it helps educate what you're trying to work towards. And for me, I think that was really useful, and it led me to meet so many people that helped grow the idea along with literally the beard that I had.
Yeah, it was a nice beard.
And it was pretty good.
Very impressive, yeah.
And it did help push the idea along. And then basically it got to a point where we kind of started this movement where people from all over the world were growing their beards and having this message attached to them. And it got to the point where we had 2 to 3 people a week writing in saying they found a skin cancer because of beard season. And we actually did the beard trend was so big that we did an exhibition in London called Beard, and we had 33,000 people come to the event in 3 weeks. And like we managed to meet people like Sir Richard Branson, and Chris Hemsworth got on board, and Hamish Blake, and all these kind of people jumped on and really helped drive the thing.
And so, and then what happened with the beard? You ended up selling the beard, didn't you, or something? Did you sell the beard to someone?
Yeah. So the idea, basically, the bigger this thing grew, the more and more time it took up in my life. And I'd be coming back from my job in advertising at like 7 at night and then working till 2 in the morning. And then the more of it, my life it started consuming, the more I was like, okay, we probably need to pivot this thing into a full-time role. And I said, in order to raise money for the charity, I'm going to sell my beard for $1 million and, do that for the first time in the world. And basically over the course of announcing that, we raised $1 million and sold it off in 2021 at a big event in Sydney. And we literally took it off in one piece, and it was kind of like the Lion King where I just held it up. And finally, after 11 years, it was off my face.
So who's got the lucky beard?
It's currently in my office.
Oh, you've got to donate it back.
Yeah, well, we might have to put it somewhere, I think, next year where everyone can kind of enjoy it. Maybe next to Phar Lap's Heart down there in Canberra.
Yeah.
But I think it's quite an impressive.
Is Phar Lap's Heart in Canberra or Melbourne?
Is what, sorry?
Where is Phar Lap's Heart?
I think it's in Canberra at the Australian National Museum.
Oh, it's at the National Museum, is it?
Yeah,
Okay. That's good to
but
know. I haven't been there for a while.
we'll have to go there
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
So then you obviously got some marketing or advertising people in to say maybe there should be a stronger connection between the object of the association and the name, perhaps.
yeah, because basically the big question was what the hell is beard season,
Yeah.
and it
I did
wasn't.
wonder that.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so um, and literally when we yeah. Anyway, so what we decided is we're going to set up an umbrella charity called Skin Check Champions,
Yeah.
and that's for everyone under the sun. And our beard season would become a campaign underneath that, along with our skin check program and all of the other activities that we've got now. And so, yeah, Skin Check Champions very much says what it is on the label. And we're here to help champion access and awareness for early detection.
Okay. And you're still running it as a full time CEO, aren't you?
Yeah, so basically, we've been working on off the smell of an oily rag to try and maximize as much of that fundraising as possible. We still haven't received any government funding yet, but we've got some really promising grants in the pipeline. And hopefully next year we might have something a bit more rock solid to play with. But until we get to that point, yeah, I've had to put on a lot of different hats over the last few years to try and keep it all running, and it's been an interesting challenge, but I think we're heading very much in the right direction.
Then, in terms of the governance of these things, because this is where a lot of these organisations can go wrong. So you've got a professional board full of people that have kind of some corporate and not for profit experience, haven't you?
Yeah, so we've got a board who we found through the AICD. They're a fantastic organisation, and we took part in a pitch night where we basically had a room full of recent graduates, and we found our chairman there who recently lost his son, and he's got a phenomenal background in investment banking, and he's very smart. He's got a big risk. His kind of role there was in risk, and also a very big research background and cyber security. And basically, we've also got an advisory which makes up a lot of different people in nursing and dermatology and general practice and also operations and marketing and digital. So there's a lot of different people on board now. But yeah, hopefully we can professionally scale and bring in some more executive roles over the next year or so. But yeah, it's been super interesting, and it's not until you're actually in there working it's to kind of figure out how to run
Yeah.
these things, and it's been great.
So then, what are the core services would you say that you provide as an umbrella?
Yeah, so I think the one thing that's helped us in this approach has been our focus, just zeroing in on early detection, and that's all we try and do. Um, there's so much double up and overlapping in a lot of different charities, and just by sticking to that one thing, I think has helped us a lot. So basically, our mission is to improve awareness and access. So the awareness side of things can potentially be things like beard season, or we recently did another big awareness campaign called Strip Off for Skin Cancer, which I've got a picture of it here. But basically, you might have seen this on Bondi Beach. So we worked with an international artist called Spencer Tunick, and we had 2,500 people, many of whom flew in from around the world.
Starkers.
And completely starkers to watch the sunrise at the start of summer. And it got 480 million global media impressions, 48 million. And it was on top 4 global news story, and just it brought a spotlight to the issue that's never really happened before. So things like that really help raise awareness. And then access side of things, we've done over 22,000 free pop-up skin check clinics around the country. And we try and target those to high-risk communities, regional and remote areas. We've done things at places like Uluru and Longreach, and we really try and bring those essential services to places where there's just no option. And we've found close to 500 potential melanoma and over 1,200 non-melanoma skin cancers.
It's incredible. So you've potentially saved 500 people's lives.
Yeah, and that's just through our pop-up stuff. Like all the other people who've come across us on social media or watched us on the Today Show or Sunrise. Like we literally had someone the other day. We were on Sunrise while we were doing skin checks in Bondi. They saw us on the TV. He was like 70 years old. John, his name was, and he took the train from Western Sydney and then the bus down to the clinic at Bondi Beach and came and got his skin checked. And then literally while we were doing the next weather cross on Sunrise, we brought him onto the TV to come and chat to everyone, to the whole country. And like, it's phenomenal the amount of reach and impact you can have. And having skin checks as our main focus, the KPI, you can really measure if you're doing a good job or not, because people say, well, I found a skin cancer, it was this type, and that literally saved my life. Mm-hmm. So running a charity to those KPIs is really rewarding as well.
It's incredible how measurable your impact has been, and not many people can say they've done that. Now, what about government support? So you have had some support in the past through getting access to some access to nurses to provide some skin check, or have you had no support at all?
Well, technically no support at all. And hats off to you, Bragg, when you first got in. I remember not long after you did your introduction speech in the House of Reps. I remember you invited us to your office there in Sydney to meet with Greg Hunt, the health minister. And that was such a nice gesture of support. And I really I owe you a lot of thanks there, because that forced us to kind of put a really solid proposal together. And at the time, it was looking very, very, very promising. And then obviously there was a whole lot of other issues for him to deal with after that. But I think there is a bit happening now, and there is a bit more momentum. I think the Australians of the Year, as you probably know, Georgina and Richard, or Peter. Anyway, they've put a really solid spotlight on the issue of skin cancer, and they've done a really good job. And basically, we've carved out 10 million towards a roadmap for a targeted national screening program, which is great because it's in the right direction. But I think it's our most
done it all without any government support. So have you had corporates or individuals, or how have you kept it going?
Yeah, that's a good question. So basically, what we've basically done is especially in the last few years, it's really hard to rattle a tin. And because we're a young charity as well, we don't have that established network of donors and people that have been, giving us money, basically. So we've kind of had to figure it all out from scratch. And what we've started to do is do corporate skin check programs for some really great companies that have come on board with that. And then we'll use a portion of those proceeds towards our community programs. So I've got kind of a widget that we can sell. And for me, I'd rather sell a widget than rattle a tin. And we're still doing our job of promoting early detection by doing that, by selling that widget. So every company that comes on board and does their corporate skin checks with us helps be part of that bigger picture goal. So that's been really encouraging. And I suppose everything else has just been through grants and private donations.
Yeah.
Selling my beard.
Well, and your beautiful beard. Well, I mean, I'm just so proud to call you a friend. I think you've done an incredible job with this, because you've changed so many people's lives by saving their lives. And Wes was such a good guy. You know, he was a very decent person. He was. I never forget. He came around to my room to tell me that I'd missed out on a particular sporting event when someone else didn't have the guts to do that, and he sat down and sort of explained why. And he was such a decent guy. I think he would have been so proud and humbled about what you've been able to do. So, thanks for what you do, and we hope you can keep doing it for a long time.
Thank you, Bragg, and congratulations on all your great work. We'll hopefully go onwards and upwards together. Really appreciate your support.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks very much.
All right.
Bye.